When using Illustrator, we normally do a lot of stretching. No, I don't mean doing exercise, although it probably isn't a bad thing to get out of your seat once in a while and walk around. But what I'm referring to, though, is scaling your artwork inside of Illustrator. Now, we already know that you can use the Shift key on your keyboard to constrain when you scale. For example, if I select this artwork right here, and I do not hold down the Shift key, I can stretch it. But if I do hold the Shift key down, it constrains the proportions are always correct. Let me press undo to go back to where I was before. When we're working with symbols, we also need to scale the instances of those symbols on our artboards. But it's important to note that symbols have the ability to scale artwork intelligently. Let me explain what I mean. I'm going to start with this little tag right here. I'm going to zoom in on this part of the artwork here, and I'll select this parsley tag, and I'm going to turn this now into a symbol. I'll tap the F8 key on my keyboard to bring up the Symbol Options dialog box. I'll give it a name. Let's call this one parsley tag, and I'll go ahead and click OK. Now, if I wanted to make this tag a little bit longer, watch what happens when I grab one of these edges here and I stretch the symbol. You can see that all the artwork has become distorted. You notice here that the end is actually stretched, does not appear like these do over here, and the text itself has been stretched as well. I'm going to press undo, and I'm now going to go ahead now and select this symbol here in my Symbols panel. And I'm going to click on the button here called Symbol Options. Note that there's now a checkbox in the Symbols Options dialog box called Enable Guides for 9-slice Scaling. I'm going to go ahead and enable that. And while the setting was available in previous versions of Illustrator, the setting itself only worked after you've brought that symbol into Flash Professional. However, now we'll see that 9-slice scaling, which is a form of intelligent scaling, now works directly inside of Illustrator as well. So with that option checked, I'm going to click OK. And now I want to edit that symbol, so I'm now going to double-click on the symbol here in the Symbols panel. Because I've specified that option for 9-slice scaling, I now see a series of 4 guides that appear inside of my document window. The way that I position these guides will allow me to control exactly how this artwork is scaled when stretched. The reason why this is called 9-slice scaling is because the 4 guides actually create 9 different regions on my screen. Let's identify what these areas mean. The middle area here is an area that will stretch or scale both horizontally and vertically. The regions that appear in the corners, for example, upper left, upper right, and lower left, are protected areas, meaning that those areas do not scale at all. These 2 areas in the middle on the left and on the right side will only scale vertically, and the 2 areas that appear in the middle, top and bottom, will only scale horizontally. By positioning these guides, I can control exactly how Illustrator scales or stretches this artwork when working with the instances on my artboard. For example, I'm going to start by moving this guide just a little bit here to the right, and I'll drag this guide here to the left of the text itself. Next, I'll move this guide up just a little bit over here, and I'll drag this one down to here. By doing so, now when I scale my artwork, I know exactly which part is going to stretch and which parts won't. I'll tap the Escape key on my keyboard to exit the symbol editing mode. And now take a look at what happens when I scale the symbol instance. I'll drag from the same place as before, and you can see that right now, the tag simply gets wider. The ends here look exactly the same as the others, and the text is not stretched at all. For certain types of artwork, this is incredibly useful, especially for web graphics where, for example, I may be creating buttons that may stretch. There is one thing you want to be careful about when using 9-slice scaling inside of Illustrator, and that is when you want to scale your artwork in proportion, you may not get the results you're looking for. For example, if I take this artwork right now and I make it narrower or wider, I get the results that I want. But if I try to now hold down the Shift key and make it larger this way, take a look at what happens. Remember that the 9-slice scaling is specifying exactly which part of the artwork gets scaled, and in this case, it results in artwork that looks like it's distorted in the wrong way. That's why 9-slice scaling is provided as an option that you can turn on for symbols where needed, but when dealing with regular artwork that will be scaled normally, you would not be using 9-slice scaling. Of course, as an added benefit to using 9-slice scaling here inside of Illustrator, if you do take this artwork and bring it into Flash Professional, all the 9-slice scalings are preserved, and they work just fine in Flash Professional and when played back inside of the Flash Player.